Good Shabbos, everyone. So I want to start by thanking our Jewish Federation of Greater Houston for organizing and allowing me and my wife Lisa to go on their recent 2025 community journey to Israel. We are blessed with an incredible federation here led by Renee Wizig-Barrios and her amazing staff. Let's give them a hand. I know many of them are here tonight. We are very, very blessed. So I thank them for that trip and bringing many Houstonians there for all that they do. But I don't thank them because the trip was so busy, I'm still tired and I'm still sick. The days were packed. I've been blessed to go to Israel many times, but it was the busiest trip I've ever experienced. We spent so much time, incredible time, seeing firsthand the organizations our federation supports, to see how much of a direct impact our community here in Houston is making in the state of Israel. Now, I could spend the next several hours telling you about our visit. Don't worry, I won't. But instead, I want to share 3 stories that I think will give you a good idea of the mood in Israel right now and the impact we here in Houston are making in the state of Israel. Story number 1. I'm sure that if you've been to Israel before, you visited Har Herzl, Mount Herzl. It's the Arlington National Cemetery of Israel. And there you'll see Theodore Herzl's grave, not Ben Gurion, but other people, prime ministers, presidents, and thousands of soldiers who have been killed in the line of duty over the years. It's a place that I have visited many times on my visits to Israel. But what is so challenging now is to go see hundreds of new graves that mark some of the 900 plus soldiers who have been killed since October 7th. It used to be when you went to Mount Herzl, you would see the grave and all there would be was the name of the soldier or the prime minister or the famous Israeli that's buried there. But over the last 10 to 15 years, in this different era in which we are living now, each grave is more personalized, if you will. Each grave marking the death of a soldier, friends and family, strangers will place mementos that are more personal to the soldier who was killed. There may be flags or pictures, a banner of their favorite soccer team, pictures of their parents or their siblings or a girlfriend or wife. And we came upon the grave of Staff Sergeant Adi Tzur. Adi was just 21 years old on October 7th, a Golani sniper who rushed to defend Kibbutz Kisafim on October 7th. He was killed fighting to protect others. Now, what made this visit different to his grave as we walked by the thousands of graves and hundreds of unfortunately new ones was that Adi's mother was there, greeting anyone who came by to share his story. And there she had a tape recorder, and she played a recording to our group in English, telling the story of her son's life. His kindness, his interest, his humor, his deep sense of duty. She was telling us about his life. And as her words played through that small speaker, it was as if his spirit hovered over us. First, it was a reminder that his last words on his cell phone to his mother were engraved near his grave. When I felt that I was struggling, he said to his mom, I started helping those who were struggling even more. And then the phone went dead. His mother now told us that she spends time at the grave every day. She's having such a difficult time getting over the grief, welcoming visitors and telling them about her son. She told us people should know who he was, not just how he died, but the type of great young man that he was. Now, our group was planning on doing a memorial service at some point during our visit to Har Herzl. At that point, we knew that we needed to ask her, could we do our service with her at her son's grave? So we prayed, we recited the El Maleh, the memorial prayer, and then we recited Mourner's Kaddish together. It's a moment I'll never forget. Houston and Jerusalem joined through our common unity. Standing there, I thought, and perhaps all of us thought, of the unbreakable spirit of the Jewish people, who live not only in the building of cities or in the strength of armies, but in the courage of a mother, just like many of our mothers here, who tells her stories, her son's story again and again, so we don't forget the tremendous sacrifices her son and so many Israelis have made and continue to make for you and me. There's been so much loss in Israel over the last 2 years. And I like to think that our brief service reminded this mother that she's not alone. That there are Jews as far away as Houston, Texas, who care about her and will perpetuate the memory of her dear son, Staff Sergeant Adit Sor. Story number 2. In one of our many visits, we visited the Brothers for Life house, a home and a place and an organization founded by wounded IDF soldiers to support one another. Think of the Wounded Warriors, but for Israeli soldiers. And this incredible organization is for wounded combat veterans, run by wounded combat veterans. They're there to support their fellow brothers and sisters recover and adapt to life after being injured. And as you can imagine, the need's never been greater. In the entire history of the state, there's never been more injured soldiers than there are today. Now, of course, Brothers for Life may be familiar to you. We've brought them here twice last year. So when Lisa and I and our group walked in, we were greeted not just by injured soldiers, but by friends. And so many of the wounded soldiers that we brought to Houston this past March. And I have to tell you, it was awesome. Not only to see the brothers that we have helped, but I actually looked kind of cool in front of the group, that these amazing soldiers actually knew me. One veteran told us, quote, "At first, I didn't think I had a future. Then I met others like myself, also injured. Veterans who've been injured before. And these veterans didn't ask what I had lost. They showed me what I can still give." And this organization is helping injured soldiers rebuild their lives so they can get jobs one day, get married, and have children themselves. It was a true miracle that's happening there. Pain turned into purpose, grief into giving. And standing shoulder to shoulder for a group photo, we understood that Israel's recovery is not just about rebuilding structures and roads, it's about rebuilding people. And we again saw firsthand that the need has never been greater. But we are making a difference. And I'm proud to tell you that our Houston Community Federation has given over $150,000 to Brothers for Life. Thanks to the connection we at Beth Yeshurun began, and now it really is a community endeavor. Now, one of the beautiful things that Brothers for Life does is not only helps the soldiers there with rehabilitation, but they have these delegation visits where they bring groups of soldiers to diaspora communities all over the world, not only to build that connection and to show the soldiers that they're not alone, that there are people all over the world that care about them, but it's also part of the healing process, because when the soldiers go, they don't know the other 23 soldiers they're going with, but they become brothers during these visits. They bond with each other. They share stories and interests in what's helping them. So for the last 20 years or so, they've made delegation visits to London, Australia, believe it or not, South Africa, New York, and Los Angeles, but never to the American South until they started coming to Houston. And the wall outside displays a global map of partners, and among them now, Houston is on their map, right on the wall outside the home. And a large group of wounded Israeli soldiers are coming back to Houston this March. I have to tell you that many of them want to come here. After last March visit, when they came here in March, when the weather is great, when we have rodeo, soldier after soldier actually told me they believe Houston is the coolest city in America. I didn't tell them the truth, but I like Houston. But I'm glad they are thrilled to come back. And I want to tell you that this past weekend, 3 of the leaders of a group that is now organizing this upcoming March visit were here in Houston. And so Sunday night, this past week, we gathered at a home of one of our younger members in Matan, one of the soldiers that came here this past March, who was severely injured and now walks with a cane, told us this past Sunday night at one of our members' homes, surrounded by many members and children and 2 other soldiers, he told us what a difference we have made for him. And as we, here in Houston, and seeing that there's a large community here that actually is trying to help him, has actually helped him in his rehabilitation process. And as he cried, many of us cried as well. And it was nice to know that there is now this organization that has this great tie here to Houston that was continued on the trip and will be continued here this upcoming March. And now my last story, story number 3. The last Shabbat, the last day of full day of the trip, a small group of us got up early on Shabbat morning and walked from our hotel to the iconic Hurva synagogue in the middle of the Jewish quarter of the old city. Now, the roots of this synagogue are incredible. They go back to 1700, when a group of Polish Jews came to Israel, settled in Jerusalem, and built a synagogue in what was the time the ancient Jewish section of the old city of Jerusalem. However, this small group of Jews incurred so many debts, the building was soon destroyed by local creditors. And that's why the synagogue got the name Hurva, the ruined. A century later, in 1864, Jews from Lithuania moved to Israel, and they rebuilt the synagogue in the same spot. It stood for nearly 100 years. But unfortunately, after capturing the Jewish quarter during the War of Independence of 1948, the Jordanian Arab Legion blew up the synagogue. It remained a ruin for decades, even after Israel recaptured the old city in 1967 in the Six-Day War. Now, you may remember that ruins there in the middle of the Jewish quarter. I remembered on many of my trips. That was the synagogue with the exposed roof in the middle of the Jewish quarter with that old arch. Finally, the synagogue was rebuilt, completed, and rededicated in 2010. And the restoration was designed to mirror the original 19th century building. And it is a magnificent domed synagogue built in Neo-Byzantine 19th century style. I think our synagogue is beautiful, but this is the most beautiful sanctuary I've ever been in my life. In adding in the meaning that this is the 3rd synagogue built in that spot, at the base of the dome, as you look above, you can see these beautiful murals depicting various holy sites throughout the land of Israel. On your next trip to Israel, it's a sight to see. The sanctuary and the Shabbat service were beautiful enough. But then, at the end of the service, an 8-day-old baby was brought in. At the end of the Shabbat service, there was a bris. The eternal covenant between God and the Jewish people was renewed once again, occurring on the last day of the trip. It was like a Hollywood ending, the celebration of new Jewish life as we were preparing to end our visit. And I asked some of the members, how common was it for a bris to happen on Shabbat? They told us that so many babies are being born, there are several Brit Milah each week, and at least one bris a month on Shabbat. So if you need a job, go be a moil in Israel. My friends, Jewish life is alive and it's thriving in Israel. A week earlier, as we began our journey in Tel Aviv, Colonel Miri Eisen, a frequent guest of Federation trips, opened with a message that would stay with the group throughout the trip. She told us, Israel is a country that for generations has followed the same pattern after they've been attacked by terrorists or foreign Arab armies. This is how they always respond: absorb, adapt, resilience, recover, and then thrive. And her words framed everything we saw. Israel, she explained, is not a traumatized nation. It's a nation that has been exposed to trauma, but has chosen to deal with it positively, not through despair, but through determination, through rejuvenation, through renewal, just like the Jewish people. Because throughout the ages, we Jews don't give up. We don't remain victims. There's no victim culture in the Jewish tradition. We stay determined, so we always end up thriving. Perfectly captured by witnessing a bris in the rebuilt Herva synagogue. Absorb, adapt, resilience, recover, and then thrive. The perfect blessing to take home from our trip. And as our journey ended, 40 members of our community carried to our home the stories, the strength, and the faith that we witnessed. Reminders that the Spirit of Israel continues to inspire. Every stop we made, from Sderot in Nir Oz to Mount Herzl in the Kotel, taught us that Israel's story is not only survival, but determination. Because we met the Israelis, fellow Jews, people had every reason to turn inward, yet chose to build, to help, and to believe in tomorrow. My friends, I encourage all of you to go visit soon, because I believe you may be more inspired than ever before. Because the encounters we experienced, I believe, gave a new meaning for myself, and I think all of us, to Am Yisrael Chai, the people of Israel will live. Shabbat Shalom.